Hello everyone, welcome back to Drawn by Annie channel. This is me, Annie, and I will be drawing for you today. Grab your tea, coffee and snacks and let's dive into today's video. I was so sick for the last few weeks. You cannot imagine how sick I was. It was the most horrible infection that I could have gotten, and it was just out of control for so long. I couldn't speak. I had such a sore throat. I was coughing like crazy, and I was just trying to survive, clinging to the reality because 90% of the time I was sleeping. So yeah, you might have noticed that a few of my videos got without a voiceover or without my commentary. Yeah, so that was the reason. I managed to draw something, meanwhile trying to not leave this world earlier than intended. Because I have never ever had an infection that bad in my life. My throat was literally killing me. I couldn't swallow. It was so inflamed. Even the doctor didn't want to touch me because she's like, oh yeah, that's really infected. And even though they tried to test for everything they could, guess what? Results came back normal. Wow. So I was so shocked, and my doctor wasn't pleased either with these results, but she still got me antibiotics. And this little, I would want to say another word, but this little cockroach crawled into my eye, and then it also crawled into my lungs, and then even the antibiotic couldn't kill it. So an antibiotic I had to take for so long, it wrecked my digestive system. So one day I just woke up and went straight into the washroom, and I spent there nearly 5 hours instead of sleeping, and then I got into ER because of that. So this sickness was a whole new adventure for me, like a main quest and side quests that I could not say no to. So I was literally trying to survive every day, and every day came something new. Like, my body just gave me a new surprise. Oh, look, there is this that could go wrong, and there is that could go wrong. I'm like, please just let me recover and let's move on. No, that was not the case. Okay, anyway, sorry for my whining. It's just I was never ever so sick in my life, so yeah, I wanted to vent a little bit. Sorry about that. But anyway, what I was saying, speaking was like forbidden thing for me to do because I would sound like this. Hello, I am here drawing for you. That would have sounded like a zombie is trying to speak to you. So yeah, I decided I would save you some trouble trying to listen to my screeching so you could enjoy some music instead. But finally I'm starting to recover. I'm still not fully recovered, but it's way better than it was before. So yeah, I'm back, baby. Now that we got that out of the way, let me introduce you to my little project here. So one of you guys has requested me to draw InuYasha, which is a very old character from an anime from, I think, 90s. By the way, shout out to What's Up Unicorn from TikTok, who was dropping this recommendation in my comment section. If you have any requests, you can drop them down below. I have heard of this anime, but I think I never watched it, and I don't think I will ever watch because it's very hard for me to check out older shows. They just don't seem to be that appealing to me anymore, and I also rarely watch anything new, to be honest. It's very hard for me to try and commit to something. Like, it's hard for me to even consider doing anything out of ordinary. I prefer to do something that I'm more familiar with. So yeah, maybe that's something wrong in my head. But anyway, I decided to fulfill this request because I thought it would be interesting for me to study this case. The style in 90s, especially in anime, is very distinctive. And if you check out older animes, they all look a little bit alike to each other, and you can definitely see the animes that are coming from this period of time because of how they were drawn, especially the facial features. They are like more cartoonish and more stylized compared to anime that are drawn nowadays. Today they are trying to look more like a little bit realistic, I guess, or more proportionate, and back then manga was still developing, and the style was very nice. I like how it looked, but it's just I'm too used to more modern styles today, but I still like how it looks like, hence why this video is coming out. So while I was doing my little research on retro anime style, I was trying to understand what exactly is it that makes it look so iconic. So I figured out a few points that I think are very distinctive for the 90s or any retro anime style or animes. So first of all, its eyes different. The most iconic part is how they're drawing the light reflections. It's mostly taking like half of the eye usually. That is seen specifically in InuYasha style as well. Also, the pupils are typically smaller and there is like more white part of the eye, if that makes sense. And the rest of facial features are not as distinctive, so usually they're using a very simple style of making nose and mouth look. It's usually drawn with a single line or maybe like a little definitive part for the shadow on the nose, and same goes for the mouth. So there's like a line for the mouth and another one under it that is marking the underlip and maybe a shade, and that's pretty much it. And yet, artists that are drawing in retro anime style somehow manage to give like a whole spectrum of emotions even with the most simple lines, and that's what actually amazes me, to be honest. Like, they're not afraid to use exaggerated facial expressions, and they often also draw facial features that are not fitting the face itself. Like, sometimes the mouth is way too big and eyes are way too big or way too small, but still it actually gives away more emotion and more spectrum. So I think that's something to look into if you think that you need more facial expressions to your characters as well. Another thing that I've noticed, especially in mangas about girls or for girls, that artists are often using diagonal lines to mark the shadow or the blush on the character's face. So you can see it can be either in color and lines or only lines, but it's always like the line art is always there, you know, these little lines on the cheeks. Those are also very iconic for the retro anime. They are often used even when the character is not actually blushing, but just as a part of their facial features or whatever. So I've noticed that I have adopted this myself, but in a little bit different way, but still I like to put different lines on my characters' faces, even though they may not be exactly necessary to mark their facial features or something like that. I just like to stylize my arts like that and my characters like this. And another thing that is very noticeable if you start looking more deep into the details of the style is how artists are marking the hair and the shapes of the hair and bangs and also the shadows of the hair. Like, they're mostly using large shapes, and a lot of times it's also spiky. You know, you can see how the hair is fluffy and flowy, but still at the same time they're using a shape that is very spiky and can look stiff. So it's a very thin line between looking as a stiff, like a sculpture, and actually looking like hair. The overall shape usage in retro anime looks like they prefer like more angular shapes and more sharper angles, if that makes sense. And if you look at any modern styles, they're more rounded, I guess. So that could kind of count as a distinguishing feature of the 90s and retro anime. And I can see all of these features that I've named in this single picture, actually. So yeah, I think that's a good case to study. And as I'm starting to work on my own version of the same character, I can clearly see where the differences are with my own style and the original. Like, first of all, the facial proportions are much different, and I usually draw characters with smaller eyes, especially males. And I also have a habit of making male faces a little more longer. I even have a reason and a little story behind it, because a lot of times when people were checking out my art, they would confuse girls and boys, and I had to explain that this is a boy character and this is a girl character. Can't you see the difference? And they're like, no, I can't see the difference, blah blah blah. I'm like, you are boring normies, you don't like anime. So I kind of wanted to try and make it look more different, so I decided I would give more longer shapes to male characters and more rounder shapes to female characters, so I wouldn't have to over explain myself that, hey, this is a girl character, this is a boy character, you know. But I kind of learned that from the animes that I was watching back then, which were mostly Sailor Moon and Pokemon, and since they were for kids, they often have same shapes for every character because they are kids. So Sailor Moon girls, they're all girls, first of all. There was like only one male character or something, and he wasn't really different from the rest of the crew. And Pokemon, they were also about kids, so girls and boys, they were looking kind of the same if you remove like hairs and stuff like that, and like the rest of the design. Of if you only keep faces, you can't really tell which face belongs to which character because they kind of look the same. But we distinguished characters by other more important features than facial features, to be honest. But still, as my style developed, I adopted more and more different techniques, and I tried out different things and doing things differently from what I am used to. So yeah, that's how I kind of developed my style. That just happens over time if you're trying new things out, and if you're constantly going out of your comfort zone, you will just change no matter what. If you're not going out of your comfort zone and constantly drawing same things over and over again, you will hone your skill in this same specific thing, and you will only be good at this specific style and this specific technique, and that's it. Yeah, Sparrow is also agreeing. And even if it's just a sketch, even right now, it can be very much seen how different my own style is from the original. Like tiny things such as eyes and nose changes give like such a big vibes change. And he also in my style looks much older for some reason. I guess that's the shape that is also helping in defining the age of the characters, since the rounder the shapes, the younger the character looks. I just don't know how to express masculinity other than giving like bigger and more rougher shapes to the character's face. So if you have any tips on that, please also drop them in the comments so we all can learn something new from each other. In my next two videos, I will explore further the differences in color and also line art, so stay tuned for the part 2 and part 3. And I thank you so much for watching and joining me in this style study case. And if you like my work and want to see more of it, subscribe on this channel and other social media that I have. I will mention them in the description. And also, if you have any other interesting style cases or some other anime art requests or fan art requests, don't hesitate to offer your suggestion in the comments as well. And that would be it for today. So don't forget to wash your cup, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye!